The system is breaking and the masks are coming off. Federal agents have swarmed 20 Minnesota daycares run by Somalis. We aren't talking about safety violations here. We're talking about a massive fraud sweep targeting people who stole or allegedly have been misusing taxpayer funded programs. They used to call it a conspiracy theory just a few months ago. Now, the FBI is carrying files out of the Leering Center. Then, the Supreme Court just dropped a hammer on the Voting Rights Act. In a 6-3 ruling, they've shifted the future, basically. In a 6-3 ruling, they've shifted the goalpost on gerrymandering. If you can't prove that districts are being drawn up in an intentionally discriminating way, the map has to stay. This changes what many thought would be a blue wave in the midterm elections, and now it's looking like there's going to be a red wave in the opposite direction. And finally, we'll be covering a very, very, very tragic situation. Apparently, Vlad TV and Lil Boosie have split ways. Boosie Badass has officially walked away from Vlad TV, and everything, all this started over 5,000 measly bucks. But it turned into a full-scale war over value, data, and loyalty. No fluff, no filters, just the truth about these situations that many people just don't want to hear for some reason. But I'm not going to be discouraged. I'm going to keep going in a straight line. So let's get to our first topic. Let's talk about accountability here. The FBI just raided nearly 24 Somali-owned daycare centers in Minneapolis. Now, for the racially diverse audience that watches me, because this is not just a purely pro-black channel, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. This is not about targeting a community. This is not about demonizing Somalis or, picking on black folks, because somehow Somalis say they not black, but then when they got problems, they trying to run over to the black side. I don't understand it. Don't ask me. I don't get paid enough to know. Go to Minnesota and ask them. It's really about protecting the resources that are meant for all of our children, including but not limited to the black children who live in our country who happen to not be Somali. We've seen over 90 people charged in this scheme since 2021 and over 60 convictions. Now tell me how you have 90 people charged. Of those 90 people, 60 people have been convicted. And most of those people are actually taking plea deals admitting that they defrauded the federal government and stole taxpayer dollars. Yet you still have people like Ilhan Omar out here in these streets acting like nothing's going on. She went on the Breakfast Club the other day. I wish I could play the video, but I can't. She went on the Breakfast Club the other day and just acted like it's no big deal. Nothing's really going on. This is just a witch hunt. Everyone's going after her and Somalis because we are racist. That's what they're trying to say. 60 people, many of whom are Somali, literally admitting guilt. Saying, yeah, we stole. Yeah, we misrepresented our business. Yeah, we took taxpayer money and used it for something other than what we claim to be using it for. And yet you have Ilhan Omar, as dishonest as she is, right? Still out here in these streets trying to act like somebody is discriminating against Somalis because of racism. I really don't understand that. When people exploit federal nutrition and child care programs, they're not just getting over on the government. A lot of people have this mindset, too many people have this mindset like, oh, if you're doing it to the government, has nothing to do with me, right? But they're not just stealing from the government. They're stealing from the families who actually need that help. It's like where I live in California. If we continue to give apartments to drug addicts and mentally ill people who don't want to live inside, we're taking away the opportunity to receive that apartment from a family who actually needs it. We have to be able to call out fraud in our own backyard without fear of being called racist or divisive or xenophobic, which is an accusation that's on the rise these days. Integrity really has no skin color at all. If you're a parent in the Twin Cities, you deserve to know that the funding meant for your child, if they need it, for your child's development, isn't being siphoned off into somebody's pocket so they can roll around in Rolls Royces and Mercedes Benzes while you ride the bus. We need to start demanding that our leaders, regardless of the party or background, or regardless of if they coached high school football, or if they know how to fix a truck, like Tim Walz used to always say, we need to make it very important. We need to demand that these people protect the integrity of our community programs. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments. I'll read it. Throw it in a super chat. I'll read it. Let me know, because when I gauge the temperature of situations like this, it really feels to me like a lot of people in America are like okay with getting scammed. Like they don't feel like it's them because they put the government. Oh, they stole it from the government. Oh, they stole it from the state government's program for this and that. Guys, that is your money. No matter how little you may contribute, that is your money. And you are not allowing them to take the money out of your pocket so they can put it in the pocket of people who, one, didn't contribute, right? Or two, people who are just here to exploit the system, get as much as they can without getting caught. It's a travesty. I don't understand why people are in Minnesota protesting and going crazy in the name of protecting criminals. It's not right to do, right? And I don't understand why people hate their government so much that they're willing to be exploited in the name of being in a position that is anti-government. Yeah, oh, we hate the government's bad, blah, 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 blah. Listen, when people steal from your government, they're stealing from you. If they don't respect your government, they're saying they don't respect you. And you can say whatever you want, but you're not going to have a revolution to overthrow the government, because when January 6th happened, you labeled those people insurrectionists and said they were the worst thing since the devil. But then at the same time, you are okay with that same government that you quote unquote were so afraid that the January 6ers were going to overthrow. You're cool with letting that same government get robbed blind by Somali refugees. It doesn't make any sense. It's just hypocrisy. And you'll find a lot of that at the root of most liberal arguments. Most of these people, I always tell people, is virtue signaling. These people act like they have a problem with it, but they really don't. They act like they only have a problem with it if they feel that it will make their political enemies look bad. But if it's not going to make their political enemies look bad, they're all for it. They're down with it. Whatever, let it happen. It doesn't matter. So it makes it very hard for me to believe that you cared about people overthrowing the government on January 6th if you don't care about Somalis robbing the government blind, stealing your taxpayer dollars. But let's tap into this video real quick.
You're watching Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christy Matino. We continue to follow this breaking news coming out of Minneapolis. We do have a live look to bring you here now. This coming in courtesy of Fox News, as we're learning federal authorities raided more than 20 locations including childcare facilities there in Minneapolis today. This is all a part of a sweeping fraud investigation into largely Somali-owned businesses. This is all according to the Department of Justice speaking to Fox News. And we do have a quote there saying, quote, today the FBI with federal, state and local law enforcement is involved in court authorized law enforcement activity as part of an ongoing fraud investigation. We do know as of right now, authorities executed 22 federal search warrants in Minnesota today as part of this operation, which is not immigration related. So our photographer there is zooming out. But I do have this post that has just come in here.
So there's nothing going on. The Somalis weren't committing fraud. That's what they said. But now the FBI is there taking documents out of daycare centers where a lot of y'all was telling me, oh, they're just targeting them because they're black. They're not doing anything. This is Trump. Okay. Why is the FBI there? Why is the FBI, who we know, like, come on, guys. The FBI ain't getting involved unless it's absolutely necessary. Why is the FBI pulling file after file, boxes of files out of these daycare centers? Because they've already convicted 60 people. And you know what people do so they don't do a long time in prison behind this stuff? They snitch. They start singing. They turn into stool pigeons. And they start telling on everybody who's doing what they're being convicted of doing so that they can get their sentence reduced. This proves that there was that it is a 100% fact that there was fraud going on at these Somali daycares. And it's good that we were on top of it. And this would have never been discovered if it hadn't been for Nick Shirley doing God's work, an independent journalist, not being intimidated or deterred, and going out there exposing this. But didn't they say Nick Shirley was crazy? He's a racist. He's a MAGA this, that, and the third. Well, in actuality, he was none of those things. He was just a concerned citizen who was brought in by concerned Minnesota residents to highlight some illegal activity that was going on. Like, guys, understand. That is the American way. Like, if someone's exploiting our government, they're exploiting us, and they're stealing our money. And you don't steal from me, because if you steal from me, you don't respect me.
And it says HSI, in cooperation with its federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, engaged in court-authorized law enforcement operations in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. For reasons of operational security and for the safety of our agents, we will not comment further at this time. Now, we do have several social media posts coming in here throughout the minutes. This one, once again, from Bill Malugin. Reading it to you now, as he says, DOJ confirms to Fox News that FBI and HSI agents are currently raiding 20-plus locations in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area in relation to ongoing federal fraud investigations. Sources telling Fox locations are largely Somali-linked businesses, including the infamous Quality Learning Center. I'm told that these are court-approved search warrants being served, and they are tied to fraud, not immigration enforcement. Now, Fox also told 22 search warrants were executed in Minnesota this morning. Going on to read that statement there from the DOJ. But I also wanted to share with you that the raid center on federal fraud investigations into these largely Somali-owned businesses, including childcare facilities that registered their daycare with the state for allegedly billing for care that was not provided. Now, Fox News is told that 2 of the raids were conducted at the Quality Learning Center and Baby Halamo Childcare, both located there in Minneapolis. The Quality Learning Center received national attention after blogger Nick Shirley visited several childcare addresses only to find an assortment of vacant or non-operational storefronts, closed businesses, or Somali occupants. And according to Fox News, they refused to answer questions or entertain the pair's mock efforts to register a child with supposed daycare.
Now, these Somali guys, they're running around the city. They're driving freaking Mercedes Benzes, Escalades, and that's not where the fraud stops. I have an apartment in Nairobi, Kenya, right? In a little neighborhood called South B. And that is a Somali community. Their country was so messed up that many of them fled into Kenya, and they've established communities in there. When I tell you that there were guys who were selling shawarma on the side of the road 5 years ago who are now building 18-story apartment complexes with elevators and in the works, luxury apartments, I'm not, if I'm lying, I'm flying. And I'm like, where the hell are these dudes getting the money from? And one of my buddies who went with me, he actually was able to talk to one of the Somali guys and asked him about, what do you think about the situation in Minnesota? Because we went there just a couple of months ago. And the guy was like, no, they're stealing. They're getting the money from America. And they're quickly trying to build up apartment complexes and things like that to kind of hide the money. So the money that they're stealing in Minnesota is not just being spent in America, which you'll be able to say, okay, well, the money's going back into our economy. So like, yeah, it's not good, but it ain't like the worst thing ever because the money is going back to fuel our economy. No, bro, they're stealing the money and the money is leaving the country. It's leaving the continent. It's going to Somalia to fund terrorist groups. And it's also going to Kenya and Uganda, not only to fund terrorism, but also to fund these guys who are building these humongous real estate projects. I'm talking about high-rise buildings that got 300-400 units in it. These are big projects, and that's all being fueled by your taxpayer dollars. You have to worry about whether you're going to buy groceries or buy gas while a Somali steals from you and sends that money to go build high-rise apartments and fund terrorism in Africa, in the motherland. It's not right. It's a whole new level of fraud, and it begs the question, immigration is supposed to be something that improves the lives of Americans. How is this improving your life? And if it's not improving your life, what do we have to do to get these bastards out of the country? And I'm black just like they claim to be when it's convenient, and I'll be the first person. Get them out. They want to get a bunch of Haitians out right now. And I was kind of like, the Haitian situation, I don't know. Then I learned that 85% of Haitian immigrants are on welfare. Get them the hell out. If you're coming here for a better life, that shouldn't be at the cost of Americans. You should be coming here so you can work and build a better life, not come here and get on the Section 8 and get on the EBT, and now life is better because you're eating 3 squares a day, bro. That's not fair to us because I can't go to your country and do the same thing.
This coming in from Homeland Security saying Homeland Security investigations in cooperation with our law enforcement partners executed criminal search warrants in Minneapolis relating to the rampant fraud of U.S. taxpayer dollars. So once again, this is all coming in here by the moment. This is a developing story we are bringing you here on live now from Fox. But if you are just joining us, sharing with you that federal authorities raiding more than 20 locations, including childcare facilities in Minneapolis.
Hey, Joe ass said if they was black people, they'll already be in jail. No, 100%. 100%. How many of us was locked up busting checks, writing bad checks and stuff? These people are doing 10 times anything that we've ever done, and they're getting off with a slap on the wrist for the most part. So I just want to give a personal shout out to my boy, Nick Shirley. Thank you for doing your work. He is currently in California right now, or I don't know if he's still in Cali, but he's doing the same thing in Cali concerning the hospice fraud that is going on over here. Somebody said, oh, another stupid topic. Look, man, guess what? Khalid Town Cell. Do you know that on this channel, if you give a $10 super chat, we cover whatever topic you want at the end of the stream. That is a luxury that we enjoy here. If you would like a topic covered, contribute $10, give me the topic, and at the end of the stream, I will cover that topic. See, have a topic you would like to discuss live, drop a $10 super chat, and I will discuss any topic of your choosing for 10 minutes at the end of the show. I will pull up a video and give my thoughts. So you can't really complain about the subject matter of this topic, of this channel, because I consider this to be our channel, not just mine. So if you want to get my opinion on something, put your money where your mouth is, and I'll be happy to oblige. Also, would you like to contribute to the stream but you don't have super chat ability, or you don't have that available to you, that little $sign at the bottom right hand corner, well, there's Cash App and PayPal links that are pinned to the top of the chat. And we are currently having a $5 challenge. We are asking for $5 super chat, Cash App, or PayPal contributions before the end of the show. And this show will end in a little bit less than an hour, right? So, guys, I'm already ready for you guys, right? And if you're watching us in the vertical portrait mode, right? Come on over to the stream on horizontal mode for a more aesthetic experience, so you can see all the clips that are played, etc., etc., etc. Unless you like watching it that way, and if that's the case, be my guest. See, I was prepared for your ass, Khalid. Khalid, are you Somalian? That sounds like a Somali name, bro. Khalid, right? All right, guys. So this is what we need to do. This is what we have to do. We gotta do it moving, basically. And thank goodness I was prepared, because I don't know why it's telling me like all my links are not working. We're gonna talk about some another situation, and I'm gonna do something that I don't normally do on this show, but I'm gonna start doing it because a great friend of mine, Azazel, asked me to do this. I'm gonna start simplifying. I'll give my rundown of what's going on, but then I will start simplifying. Okay, cool. That was just a glitch then, okay. But anyway, I'll start simplifying, putting it in simpler terms, so everybody can really understand what's going on with these different topics. Consider this an educational show. You get educated, you learn about what's going on, and then you can go out and you can help others. So right now we have to talk about a topic this is going to get crazy. This is going to get crazy. So this is something that you need to know about. Let me restart my camera real quick so it doesn't interrupt me. Okay, so this is going to get crazy, guys. The Supreme Court today has fundamentally changed how you vote. And there are many people who are opposed to their ruling who are saying this is due to racism, and it will embolden racism, the KKK, the white supremacists, and all that jazz. You guys know how they do. This will change how you vote. In a case called Calise versus Louisiana, Supreme Court, in a 6-3 majority, ruled that to stop a gerrymandered map, right? To stop people from drawing up a map that you claim they're doing as an act of racism to eliminate black votes, right? You now have to prove that their drawing of that map, that voter map, is intentionally racist and is intended to discriminate based on race. For decades now, the Voting Rights Act has allowed us to challenge maps based on their results. If a map silenced minority voices, it was considered illegal, but not anymore. This affects every person in the country, whether you're black, Latino, or a rural white voter. If the court says results don't matter, only intent does, they've made it almost impossible to win for certain groups who don't have who aren't there or who aren't present in large numbers. Why? Because no politician is dumb enough to say, I intend to discriminate with the way that I'm drawing up this map, this voter map. They're not going to put it in an email. They're definitely not going to say it on the news. So how do you determine intent if intent is not stated, right? This is a wake-up call to everyone in America. We can't rely on the courts to fight for our rights. We can't rely on the courts to make everything okay or to save us or to save our seat at the table. We have to be more organized, more strategic, and more unified than ever at the local level, because the rules of the game are changing and it's getting harder. If you want America to reflect your ideas and your goals that you have for the future, you're gonna have to start playing the game better. And I really direct this at like black folks. I have to, because black folks believe that they're gonna be able to be asleep at the wheel, and then when things go bad, they just scream racism, and then they quote unquote fix everything. Well, you don't have that anymore. I don't know if you guys know this, but they used to draw up maps, right? And they would only encompass the blacks. They'll make the line squiggle, and they would only encompass the blacks just to make sure black officials or representatives were getting elected so that blacks could have representation in Congress, right? They're not doing that anymore. So now being black ain't going to be good enough to just get you into Congress or to get you to the Senate. You're going to have real ideas. And when you run a campaign, you're going to have to run it for everyone. You're not going to just be able to say, yeah, I'm running a platform of reparations and get elected because every black person wants reparations. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. You got to come honest. You got to come with an open mind and an open heart for the American people so that they'll choose you regardless of color, right? I'm in California right now. There was the governor's debate last night, and Hispanics are doing the same thing blacks thought they were going to get away with, got away with for a long time. There's a guy named Javier Becerra. He's a horrible candidate, but he's being polled very high because Hispanics are voting for him just because he's Hispanic, just because he's Latino. If you look at the guy's policies, they're horrible. He wants to raise taxes. He's basically like Gavin Newsom 2.0. But the Hispanics aren't looking at that. They're looking at the color of his skin and the accent in his voice, and they're saying, I'm voting for him because he looks like me. What people don't understand is that's what hurts our country. Voting people in because they look like you, but their policies are the policies of people that you are fighting against because you saying that they're trying to destroy you. It doesn't work. Now, if you're not like a political head, which I know many people are not, let me explain this very simply. And please don't be offended by any of the terminology that I use. I'm just trying to explain this in as simple of a way as I know how. Okay, in Louisiana, right, there are a lot of black voters. Let's pretend that they are blue Legos. Everyone knows Legos. The black voters are blue Legos. So instead of black, I'm going to say blue Legos because I don't want people to say this is racist. So for a long time, the people in charge of the map makers, the people who draw the lines, put almost all of the blue Legos into just one tower, into one Lego tower. That meant that the red Legos got to pick the leaders for all of the other towers. So the whole black vote or blue Lego vote, it was put in one section. One. So all the rest of your representation would be decided by people who don't even look like you, right? You would have basically no say in the rest of the state, right? A while ago, there was a judge who said, look, that's not fair. You need to give the blue Legos 2 towers so they have a fair chance to pick a leader that they actually like. So before, if the black Legos said, hey, we don't like the bottle of perfect glass for governor, we want the deodorant spray to be governor. Well, it wouldn't matter because all your votes were just lumped into one area. So they would say, okay, that's nice. And then all the red Legos, the whites, they would all vote for perfect glass. And so your vote really wouldn't count at all. So there was a judge who was like, look, we got to make it fair so that their votes will have weight. So they ordered that the blue Lego tower we would build more blue Lego towers. There were 5 red Lego towers, but only 1 blue Lego tower. So then they built another blue Lego tower. Even though this didn't correct things totally, it still gave the blue Lego towers a little bit more leverage when it came time to vote, right? So there were, at this point before, there were 4 red or white Lego towers, and there was only 1 blue Lego tower. The judges ruled, and now there's 2 blue Lego towers, which is the black tower, and there's 3 red Lego towers. So blacks gain a little bit more power, right? So the judge said you need to give the blue Lego tower two towers so that they have a fair chance to pick a leader that they actually like. So the map makers drew a new map that created 2 blue towers. But recently, some of the people who made up the red towers got upset. And they told the Supreme Court, they took it all the way to the highest court in the country, that the new map was unfair because the order that the map makers received before, it was only based on color. They basically used civil rights. White folks basically used civil rights against black folks because civil rights said nothing can be based on color. It has to be based on meritocracy and representation. But when a judge ordered that certain maps be drawn in a way where it would give black voters power in according to those maps based on the lines, well, the minute they said black voters, that made that map illegal. And that's what the white folks or the red Lego folks are arguing, right? So the Supreme Court judges made a landmark decision, right? They threw away the map with the 2 blue towers. And then they said, okay, from now on, if you want to prove that the map is being drawn based on color, right? You can't just show that the blue Legos lost their tower or the blacks lost their districts. You have to prove that the new map was drawn with the intention of racial discrimination. See? So they said you have to prove that the people who are drawing the maps are purposely trying to discriminate against blacks. Now, how do you prove that? That's going to be very hard to prove because you have many blacks who vote with the whites, right? There are certain things that the whites, fight for, like less crime, less taxes, more police presence, certain things. And there are blacks who have money who are working hard every day, and they're like, I support those ideas, right? So they'll say, well, I'm riding with the red Legos this time because their interests more closely resemble my interests. Now you got the people with the blue Legos who like, it don't matter. Let Pookie and Ray Ray run the damn streets, go crazy, fuck stuff up. And if you put them in jail, you're a racist and you're doing it because you a Klansman, right? There's a lot of blacks leaving that blue Lego group. They don't want to be involved in that because they are victims of crime. They fall victim to the very perpetrators that the blue Lego group tries to defend. I hope that made it simple for y'all. Maybe it made it more convoluted, but we got a video that I think will help shed a little bit of light on that. Remember, the blue Legos are blacks, the red Legos are whites, and I would say conservatives, people who just want to have a good state to live in.
Special report.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision which could have a profound impact on the midterm elections. The justices issuing a ruling on a case out of Louisiana involving the Voting Rights Act, redistricting, and whether states must end any consideration of race when redrawing congressional maps. The decision potentially reducing the influence of minority voters and minority representation in Congress. Let's get right to our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin.
Kira, this decision is 6-3, written by Justice Samuel Alito, and it's a significant decision and a setback for the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was passed to guarantee equality in how we vote, and of course addressing the systemic and historic racial discrimination, especially across the South. This decision came in a case out of Louisiana involving a court-ordered drawing addition of a second majority black district in that state because of the size of the state's population. And the Supreme Court today, in this decision, said that the court violated the 14th Amendment by adding, the state rather, violated the 14th Amendment by adding that district. They used race impermissibly, consciously, to add a second district to aid those voters, and they said that is simply not allowed under our Constitution.
Now let me show y'all the trick bag, right? We live in a representative democracy, right? So that basically means, in large part, majority rules, especially when it comes to the lower level elections, right? The local elections. You got districts basically being drawn on a map according to population, right? This is this many people, circle it. Oh, that's one district. This many people, that's another district, right? Well, here's the crazy thing. For the past 60 years, they've been encouraging black women to abort their children, right? Hey, nah, you can't afford to take care of that baby. Go down to the clinic and exterminate it at Planned Parenthood, right? So black folks, we jumped on board with it like, yeah, that's a smart idea. So we are leading the country. Of every group, we're leading the country. Of every group, we're almost tied in abortions with every other group combined, right? So just blacks are getting as many abortions damn near as whites, Hispanics, Asians, and every other group in America. But here's the thing. When it comes time to vote, when you need the numbers, you need people to get votes. Blacks scream and holler, oh, this is unfair and this is racist because our vote don't count because white folks got more districts than us. Well, why do white folks have more districts than you? White folks have more districts than you because they have more people than you. And they have more people than you because you've exterminated over 70 million black children since the 1960s. So black people are operating at an extreme deficit in population, but screaming that everything is racist. Hispanics didn't come to this country largely until like the 1970s, 1980s, right? That's when there was a massive influx. They've totally surpassed black people in population. It's 100-something million of them, and black folks is sitting at 40 million. Guess what? They're not lined up at Planned Parenthood to exterminate their kids. So how do you scream this or that is racist? How do you scream this is an injustice and this is not fair when you know you live in a democracy? You know a democracy is majority rule, but you continue to cull your numbers to abortion. That's like somebody, you playing basketball and you know the game is 5-on-5, but you got only 5 players and you trying to put people on the injury reserve or trying to suspend people for being late to warm up. Well, if you out there with 3 people against 5 getting whooped, you can't get mad at them because you did it to yourself. You took your numbers down. So now you're not able to compete when it politically. So then you try to gerrymander the rules and say, well, we should just squiggle up the lines to encompass all the blacks in one district. And now the Supreme Court has ruled, no, based on the Voters' Right Act that you guys fought for, you cannot draw a district based on race. And we mad now. We have the buyer's remorse. Civil rights comes back to bite us in the ass.
Justice Samuel Alito didn't go as far as saying race can never be used in drawing these maps. That's something the court has affirmed before to comply with the Voting Rights Act, but he put a significant new limit on how courts can order states to draw their maps to be more equitable. He said that Section 2 imposes liability only when evidence supports a strong inference that the state intentionally drew its map to discriminate. So a setback for minority voters in Louisiana. And now, Kira, the impact of this decision is going to start to ripple across the country.
Let's talk about that impact and bring in our legal contributor and law professor at Hofstra University, James.
So now, because the Supreme Court ruled this is going to eliminate other states' ability to do it. So black folks is about to lose ground politically all over the South. The black folks are about to lose power politically all over the South, right? Because we didn't earn, like many of us did. We at first we were just running and winning because we were the best candidate, right? I feel Barack Obama ran and won because at that time he was the best candidate. But more and more as we got into the 2015s and 16s and 17s and into the 2020s, we started doing like this, playing this racial twister where we like, yeah, let's work to get in the positions just based on race. That's why we signed up for shit like DEI, right? Because we started basically weaponizing our race, which we tried to. White liberal women convinced us that we could weaponize our race against the white man. And what people don't understand is he who giveth taketh away, can also taketh away. White man signed the Civil Rights Act so you can be treated fairly. He didn't sign it so that you could be treated fairly, get enough power to then turn it on him and then he lose. He didn't do it for that. And that's what nobody wants to tell you. That's what those black politicians and the black lawyers on TV don't want to tell you. You could say and do whatever you want to do. But guess what? If you don't have the numbers in America, you cannot win politically unless you form multicultural and multi-race coalitions. And unfortunately, the people you would have to form coalitions with, they're not trying to form a coalition with you no more because they don't have to. They outnumber you now. They only want you to be out there when it's time to go fight with ICE. Soon as you done helping them fight with ICE in the streets, they disregard you. They open up 3 taco stands and won't hire you to work at one of them. Not even cleaning toilets. So, black folks, take your hat off. You did it to yourself. Take a bow.
Sample. I mean, James, this is clearly, gutting landmark legislation here.
Absolutely correct, Kira. This is a ruling that almost completely constitutionalizes a color blindness principle to the point that even race-conscious remedies designed to remedy racial discrimination are unconstitutional under the very amendments, the 14th and 15th Amendments, that the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act were designed to make real and manifest in the country. So this is a diametrical shift in voting rights practices, a diametrical shift in the area of race and racial discrimination and the remedies for racial discrimination.
And he's totally right. If you guys really look at civil rights, bro, civil rights was something that was purely driven off of emotion. White folks looked at TV. They saw black folks getting bust upside the head, attacked by dogs and shot with water hoses, and they made an emotional decision. They made it. You know, when you go in a business, they have a sign up now. The business says, we reserve the right to refuse service, right? Walk in any of these Cambodian or Arab or any of these businesses. You know the only businesses that don't have that sign up in America? White businesses. Because everyone else has the right to refuse service to anybody, but not white people. You up in there fucking up they shit, they can't say, hey, you got to get the fuck out. You got to get out of here. Because if they do, you can then sue them and use the Civil Rights Act as the weapon to force them to allow you to come in and steal and shoplift and vandalize their stuff. Now the emotional aspect is gone. We didn't cut up so bad in some of these areas. White folks is like, I supported Martin Luther King, but God damn it, I'm tired of these Negroes. And now they're re-examining the books. And they're not wrong, because the Civil Rights Act says you can't discriminate based on race, right? So if you can't, it basically says you can't do anything based on race, including but not limited to drawing up a congressional district. So you wanted equality, right? You're getting it now. You're getting true equality. See, black folks didn't fight for civil rights because they wanted true equality. They wanted an advantage. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting that when you've been disparaged, right? But now you ain't disenfranchised no more. The only person disenfranchising you now is yourself and Pookie and Ray Ray and them. White folks is like, yeah, we gave y'all the rules to let y'all catch up, right? We played on our knees long enough to let y'all get some buckets. Now they standing up and they saying we going 1v1. Mano y mano. Are you going to be able to hang? And a lot of these people aren't going to be able to hang because guess what? They become too comfortable having an unfair advantage.
James, thanks. Let's bring in Chief White House Correspondent Mary Bruce. Now, Mary, let's just talk about what this will mean for the midterms and beyond.
Yeah, well, Kira, President Trump certainly has backed this nationwide effort to try and redraw districts ahead of the midterms to try and boost Republicans' chances. We haven't heard from the president yet about this ruling, but I suspect he certainly will have some positive comments to say about it. This is also worth noting that this announcement is coming just the morning after the president had 6 conservative Supreme Court justices on the guest list here last night for that lavish state dinner with the king. But there's no question that the president, we have seen him and other Republicans backing these efforts in many states across the country ahead of the midterms. And now, as Devin was noting, this will set off an opportunity for other states to try and follow suit. And it certainly could reduce the minority voter influence across the country going forward.
We'll be following it for sure. Mary, James, Devin, thank you all so much.
This is
Look, what do we do, Brandon? What's the solution? How do we stop it? You better start spreading them legs and busting them cheeks open, because the only way you gonna fix this is having babies. The only way you gonna fix this is having babies. You better start taking off the condom and skeeting and shit, because the only way you can fix this is populations or either population or coalition. That's it. And right now, African Americans are like trying to go to war. Well, at least the ones that call themselves FBA, they're like trying to go to war with everybody. So coalitions, it ain't looking like we about to have no coalitions no time soon. And then black folks want to scream at everybody racist when they don't get their way. So a lot of these groups that you might have been able to form a coalition with in the past, they don't want to touch black folks with a 10-foot pole, because there's a chance that everything they built can be destroyed with one claim of racism from one of us. It's a pickle. It's a pickle that we're in, and we got to do something about it, y'all. It's a pickle we're in. But I'll tell you, the first step, have kids and raise them right. I ain't talking about these little YNs and Pookies y'all out here pushing out. Have some kids and raise them right. That's really your only solution. That's really your only solution. I don't know what else you think you're going to do, but you're going to have to start building up your population. Or just take color out of the conversation. Do what the Indians do. I look at the Indians like Vivek Ramaswamy and these people, Nikki Haley. They just take race out of it totally. They're less than 1% of the population, but they're doing extremely well when it comes to national politics. Black folks either gonna have to have more kids. I'm talking about in the millions. Every hood rat gotta have 4-5 kids and raise them up right, or we're gonna just have to stop trying to weaponize race in our community. Yes, be black. Be blackity black to blackity black. Be proud to be black, right? But stop trying to weaponize it against others in an effort to gain an unfair advantage. Stop doing that. And I think the fortunes of black people in this country will change dramatically. I think there will be a lot of changes. Okay, guys. So that was our second topic. This is our last topic, and then I gotta take off. So we have to talk about DJ Vlad. DJ Vlad and Boosie Badass, they are beefing, right? They are beefing right now. Don't really understand, well, I do understand why they're beefing, but Vlad and Boosie was cool, right? As far as I know. And now all of a sudden, they got beef. And apparently the beef is over some real sucker shit. $5,000. And Boosie is like, Vlad wouldn't pay me. Oh no, $5,000. $5,000. Boosie is like, Vlad wouldn't pay me an extra $5,000, which would have been $40,000. And I'm kind of like, Vlad was giving you $35,000 for that little bullshit you was talking. But look, man, getting $35,000 to just talk is great money. But everyone knows their worth, and they need to stand up for what they think is best. I don't think we can show imagery of Vlad, but I do believe we can play the audio from Vlad. So that's what we'll do. Let's see what Vlad had to say about this.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to an episode of 1090J TV. I am interviewing the legendary Vlad TV. And the first question that we're going to pop this off with is, me and you were connected through Boosie. And Boosie is one of my favorite interviewees that you've had on your platform. I'm watching every time it drops. And I'm now hearing that he's going up in price. He may be moving away from Vlad TV. What are your comments on this situation?
Well, look, me and Boosie, our business relationship goes back 20 years. Before Vlad TV, when I was doing DVDs and I was holding the camera and going to Atlantic Records and filming him and Webby, we'll show a little clip of that. It'll show how far we really go back.
You ever run into any of the cats that bit off you?
Nah, we ain't ran into them yet, you know what I'm saying? But they know who they is.
And me and Boosie have had a good relationship, a great relationship, a friendship, a business relationship. I've been to his house a bunch of times. I met his family. And originally, I wasn't paying him to do interviews. But over time, as the views kept going up and people were really gravitating towards these interviews, we started working out appearance fees. And the fees slowly went up. And over the last couple of years, the fee that we actually stuck at was around was $25,000 per interview.
Okay, so that's the nature of business. If what I'm doing is bringing you revenue, right? You making 50, 60, 70,000, 100,000 off of me sitting down for an interview, which Vlad is probably making more than that off a Boosie interview. I want to cut of that. I should get some of that bread because I'm enriching you. And if I don't say anything, you're going to just keep getting me to do things for free and never offering me anything, right? Right? So Boosie is right to demand money. He knows his worth. He knows what Vlad's getting off these YouTube interviews. And Boosie is not even doing what most people would have did, because most people would have just started their own YouTube channel and gave their own opinion on these topics, right? But Boosie didn't even do that. So you getting exclusive Boosie interviews, because I don't really see Boosie interviewing nowhere else. And if he getting $25,000 for, doing an interview on your channel, he's not likely to go to another channel to do an interview for less. So you have exclusive rights to Boosie's reactions on certain subject matter. So I don't see anything wrong with that. Vlad kind of has this tone where he's almost sounding like that was a problem.
Mm. And that price was justified because Boosie was pulling in like 6 million views for every interview. And in that particular situation, and I showed Boosie all the numbers and all my back end numbers and so forth. When he was getting around 5.5 million views, I would make around $35,000 off that interview, and he would make $25,000, right? So I had a $10,000 profit margin. He still made the majority of the money, but I was still making $10,000, so I was cool with that, right? And we were rocking like that for years. So some time had passed. It was, I don't know, about 6, 7, 8 months since our last interview. So I just hit him up one day, a couple of weeks ago, and we had a conversation. And this conversation was a private business conversation.
Nigga, you hit him up because you want to say I ain't give you $25,000 for an interview no more. That's it. They had a cool agreement, and as the views started going down a little bit, now I want to hit him up to change the price. But here's where Vlad's full of shit. Boosie interviews be hitting like 100, 200,000 when he clip him up and all that. So overall, he is getting 1 million views off of Boosie interviews. But maybe that video in itself ain't getting 1 million interviews, but that's a product of the market becoming more saturated with people giving their opinion. You're still making bank off of Boosie interviews, Vlad, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be doing interviews with Boosie. Anybody who Vlad wasn't making significant bread off of doing interviews with, he stopped doing interviews with him. Why do you think he stopped doing interviews with Aaron the plumber?
But Boosie recently did a live where he revealed parts of this conversation, and in his live, he said that he had asked for $5,000 more, and I said no, which is why he's not going to do the interview.
I wanted $5,000 more than he wanted to pay me. He didn't want to pay me, so I think I'm gonna make more money doing it this way. And I'm editing my interview now.
Now, that's not exactly accurate. So, I wasn't going to put any of this out there, but because he started putting out numbers out there and people started going, oh, Vlad being cheap, why is it only 5,000? You could pay him that, not knowing the whole picture. So I'm going to lay out the whole picture for everyone just to explain what exactly is going on. So when I called Boosie, like I said, the fee had always been $25,000. He said, I want $40,000.
That's $15,000 more.
I can't do $40,000. That's just putting me in the hole in a situation like this. He's like, well, I'll go as low as 35. And I'm like, man, listen, I might be able to do 30 after I run the numbers, but 35 is definitely out of the question. But let me go ahead and run my numbers and actually see what's going on. So I went back and I looked through the last, 5 or 6 interviews. And I looked, and the profit margin on each of these interviews was around $10,000. So I showed him the numbers. I sent him a spreadsheet showing him my back-end numbers. And I'm like, bro, the most I could do is 25. You're asking for 35. Your traffic has been dipping over the years. You've gone from about 6 million to about 5.5 to about 5 and some change. So you're looking at about maybe a 10, 15% decrease in views, which means a 10 to 15% decrease in revenue, as you know, but you're asking for a 40% increase in appearance fee, a 40% increase. It doesn't make any business sense because what'll end up happening is, look, Boosie's already at home, right? He wakes up, he does the interview. There's no cost associated with him, and he was getting paid $25,000. I have to fly because I don't have a studio or a camera crew in Georgia, in Atlanta, so I have to hire a camera crew in Atlanta. I have to fly from LA to Atlanta. I have to get a hotel. I have to have all the costs associated with it. And then afterwards, I have to pay to get the video edited and pay my crew and everything else like that. And as you know, with YouTube, I'm taking all the risk because sometimes videos get demonetized, right? Especially when you talk about someone like a Boosie who has, he swears, he's talking about a lot of edgy stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm taking 100% of the risk. So
Man, shut up, Vlad. Don't nobody feel sorry for your bitch ass. This dude literally is just whining. There's ways Vlad could play it where he could get more bang for his buck. Vlad could have started a new channel by now. There's a lot of things he could have done. Vlad is basically on some, I only want to pay you $25,000 and I don't want to do no more work than what I'm doing. Also, Vlad, you can call Boosie to work whenever you want to. He's not an employee. You don't have a contractual obligation with bro. So when he comes, it's because you've called him. Hey, I'm going to come down there and interview on this because I think I'm going to make money off of it. Right? That's why you're going down there. So it's like me doing this, bro. It's like me going to the strip club, right? Then complaining about the price of the lap dance. Nobody forced me to go to the damn strip club. Nobody forced me to ask about a lap dance. Why am I complaining about the cost of a lap dance if I didn't drag my dog ass to the strip club, paid the admission fee, went up in that hole, ordered 2 drinks, threw some ones, and now I'm feeling kind of horny and I want to get a lap dance? Come on, bro. All you have to do is, if you can't afford it, don't ask Boosie to do an interview. And if you have another interview that blow up and you get a little extra scratch, then maybe you can go back and say, okay, Boosie, I got enough to pay you for the interview. This is on Vlad, man. Boosie drawing a line in the sand. He's kind of dumb too, because why not get a couple extra 25,000? The dude coming to you and everything else like that is costing you nothing but 5 minutes or an hour of just running your mouth, which you do that already. You are black and you are a rapper. Yeah, so I think both of them are dumb. I would say Boosie is a little more dumb because all money in full, but it is what it is. He's doing what he has to do, and he feels like that's the right decision for him and his family. That's it. But guys, look, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for tapping in to this stream. I have to go to jiu-jitsu practice. I got to go. So it was beautiful. It was real. Till the next time, thank you for every single thing you do for this channel. Please take care of yourselves, but most importantly, please take care of each other. Peace.